Wisdom, as it is talked about in the Bible, wisdom is competence with regards to the realities of life. Competence with regard to the realities of life. And well, I would like very much to be able to definition, and it actually comes to us from one Gerhard von Rad. And with a name like that, I think we can agree that he was destined to become the very renowned Old Testament scholar that he is, Gerhard von Rad. He just sounds fancy. But to put that a little more simply, a person with wisdom is a person who is skillful at living in reality. They are skillful at everyday, ordinary life. That's what it means to be wise. A wise person is the one you turn to when you're not sure how to navigate a tough conversation at work. A wise person is the one you call when your finances get complicated and you're unsure of what to prioritize. A wise person is the one that helps you see both sides of an argument when you're stuck in a disagreement with a friend. A wise person is the one who knows how to make sense of a confusing medical bill, or who can help you figure out if a new opportunity is worth the risk. A wise person is the one who listens patiently when you need to vent, but knows just the right moment to ask a question that will help make you think differently. That is what a wise person is, one who is competent with regards to the realities of life. And the entire premise of the book of Proverbs that we're going to be studying for the next 4 weeks is that wisdom is something that can be cultivated. So whether we have a lot of wisdom, a little bit of wisdom, or even no wisdom at all, with a little time and a little attention, each of us can grow a little bit more in our lives. And one of the major devices that the book of Proverbs uses to help nudge us in that direction, in the direction of wisdom, is the recurring character of the fool. The fool is more or less the fall man of the book of Proverbs, and to them is attributed all the qualities of a person lacking in wisdom. Throughout the book, we're told about all the various unwise things that they do, and all the things that they say and they do, after which we're basically told, don't be that guy. Hence the name of our current series. And so today, this morning, what are we told about the fool? We are told that the fool thinks their own way is right, as opposed to the wise person who listens to others. And sad as it is to say, examples of such fools are very easy to come by in the Bible, easy to come by in our history books, and of course, easy to come by in the world around us. So by way of example, let's take a moment here to talk about the Cybertruck. With the design meant to invoke the aesthetics of science fiction movies from the 1980s, the Cybertruck is the latest offering from the electric car company Tesla. Whether you believe that it is a futuristic masterpiece, your toddler drew, it's important to know that the Cybertruck is the result of the singular vision of Tesla's CEO and currently the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. It is a flattering picture, yes. I don't want to do him any disservice. But leading up to its release on the market, Mr. Musk made a lot of promises about the Cybertruck and how it would be an indestructible tank on wheels, incorporating all sorts of next-generation technologies that would forever change the way people think about cars and think about driving. It would take you absolutely anywhere, and it would take you there in style. At least that is what was promised. What has actually been released onto the market, however, is something a little bit different. For the low starting price of just $81,000, with some packages reaching well over $100,000, early adopters of the Cybertruck have been treated to a vehicle that comes with warnings in the owner's manual to avoid automatic car washes, lest water leaks into its poorly sealed frame and onto its electronic components, turning it into a giant stainless steel brick. The edges on the doors are so sharp that drivers' legs are getting gashed open. The exterior paneling of the Cybertruck is getting peeled off by the wind as people are just driving down the highway. Wheels are literally snapping off the frame. And the cherry on top, I think, the warranty for this indestructible tank on wheels becomes void if you do something so utterly reckless as, get this, drive over a pothole. Voids the warranty. That's true. Look it up. Look it up. That is true. And I know what you're thinking now. You're thinking, Pastor, 12 million trucks are bought and sold every year in the United States, and most of them for a lot less money than this, and none of them seem to have these kinds of problems. Surely you are saying this could have been avoided. Well, it turns out that at every step in the Cybertruck's design process, billionaire Elon Musk ignored the best practices of the auto industry, ignored the advice of the very engineers and designers that he hired for the explicit purpose of giving him advice, and instead he trusted in only his own vision and his own decision-making. And the result of that process is a vehicle that, in just the few months it's been available to the public, has already given rise to a whole host of nicknames, including, just to name a few of the ones that can be mentioned in polite company, the Cyber Brick, the Dumb V, the Deplorian, and my personal favorite, the El Camino Nope. The fool, says Proverbs, thinks their own way is right, and in so many ways, Elon Musk and his Cybertruck are a testament to that fact. So the question for us here today is, how do we not be that guy? How do we avoid creating Cybertrucks in our own lives, so to speak? And the answer to that question is both surprisingly simple and endlessly challenging. We need to listen. The wise person, says this morning's reading, listens to others. That is, the wise person knows how to take advice. But just not any advice. With the advent of the internet and podcasts and modern media, there are now more fools than ever out there spouting off their bad advice, which is both free and plentiful. And instead, we need to listen to good advice. A wise person listens to good advice. The kind of advice that comes from people with real experience and insight. The kind of advice that pushes us to grow. The kind of advice that we might not want to hear because, let's be honest, no one likes to be told that they are wrong. And the reason that taking even good advice is so endlessly challenging for us is, in a word, our pride gets in the way. And if you are sitting there saying, no, my pride does not at all get in the way of me accepting good advice, you need to know that you are in good company. As author and theologian C.S. Lewis likes to point out in a famous chapter in his little book, Mere Christianity, pride is something that we are all really good at identifying in other people, but we are very poor at identifying it in ourselves. And he didn't put it like this because he was a very classy guy, but I will. Pride is like the spinach stuck in your teeth after lunch. Everyone around you can see it. And quite frankly, they're a little bit grossed out by it. But you have no idea that it's there. Pride blinds us to our own shortcomings and makes us bristle at the very idea that someone else might know. And the irony is, the more pride that we have, the more it convinces us that we don't need advice, and the more we dismiss the advice of others, the more likely we are to build a metaphorical Cybertruck, flawed from the start and bound for disaster. Case in point, a personal example. I'm going to do some deep sharing right now. Get ready. So a few years ago when my wife and I moved into our house out there in the boonies, I went on a bit of a tree cutting binge. Our property was just overgrown with trees, a lot of them dead, all of them ugly. And so I bought a chainsaw and I got to work. I took about 20 down by myself, no problem. And Trio Zach here actually came over and helped me fell my very first 2. Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But there was this big tree right in the center of what I wanted to be the yard. It was about yay big around, and at least as tall as the ceiling here. And one day when Sarah was off at work, and specifically I timed this so she was off at work, so that she would not give me the advice that I did not want to hear, namely that this tree was so big that I had no business messing around with it. So when she was off at work, I decided the time had come to bring it down. And if I'm being really honest with you, my thinking at the time was that any jerk with a saw cut down a tree, and not to toot my own horn, but I did go to Harvard. I think I can take down a little tree. Really. How hard could it be? And I could. I really could take down that tree for the first whole cut until about halfway through the second. If you had seen me out there in my wood-cutting chaps, and my wood-cutting helmet, my wood-cutting goggles, if you had seen me, you would have thought I was a professional. You probably would have called me up, had me come over to take down some trees at your own house. If you had seen me for that first cut and about halfway through the second, it was going so good. So good. Real professional. And then about 3/4 of the way through that second cut, despite some guy wires that were supposed to be pulling that tree in the opposite direction, it started leaning towards my house. And my heart immediately sunk into my stomach. I stopped what I was doing and I just stepped back and watched it kind of up there, just kind of swaying back and forth. And I immediately got on the phone and started calling in the cavalry, calling in actual professionals, and they were quoting me absurd 10K. They wanted 5K to come and remove this single tree, and most of them could not even come out on that day. To make matters worse, there was actually a thunderstorm that was about to move in that was promising gusts of 50 miles or more per hour. So this tree needed to come down today, and it needed to come down pronto. But after calling about 5 or 6 companies, I finally found someone that could send someone out right away. And happy ending to this story, they gave me a great deal and took it down for just $200. Do you know why? Because I let them take a video of it to post on Facebook to demonstrate why homeowners should not cut down their own trees. I'm not joking, that is true. The fool thinks their own way is right and doesn't listen to others. Why? Because they're proud. And that was me. I was proud. I didn't want to hear good advice from anyone. I thought I had it under control. But clearly, if you ask Sarah, very clearly, that was not the case. So what I'm trying to say here is this. I'm trying to say, do not be a fool like Elon Musk, charging ahead, convinced that your way is always right, and building a Cybertruck of your own. And for that matter, do not be a fool like yours truly, letting pride stop you from listening to others and dropping a tree on top of your house. Instead, be humble, be teachable, and really listen to other people, their experiences, their insight, their advice. And in so doing, cultivate wisdom in your life. Because wisdom is not about having all the answers, it's about being open to them from wherever they come. Friends, may we embrace that kind of wisdom with humble hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.